Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia raided by the Central Bureau of Investigation in the Delhi Excise policy issue. 21 premises across 7 states raided. Arvind Kejriwal rushes to defend his deputy. He says CBI has been given instructions from the top. After big crackdown on Delhi Deputy Chief Minister, ED also likely to take action on the Delhi excise policy matter. Amid intensifying face of the controversial excise policy row, Aam Aadmi Party holds the 10th conference of the day. Aam Aadmi Party continues defiance, targets centre, says the ongoing raids an attempt to weaken and malign Kejriwal government. Hello and welcome. You're watching the special episode of This Is Exclusive with full focus on that big development which started around 8 o'clock this morning when Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia's office as well as residence was raided by the Central Bureau of Investigation as part of the liquor policy investigation. In fact, not just his residence and office, but about 21 locations where these searches are being carried out, spread across 7 states and union territories, including the then Commissioner of the Excise Department, all now under the scanner of the Central Bureau of Investigation. What has really transpired over the last few hours, with some documents being seized by the Central Bureau of Investigation from the premises of a public servant, to about cash recoveries, which we are being told as of now no such recovery of cash has been made. But what's very important to point out here is that certain electronic devices have been taken in the possession of the Central Bureau of Investigation. Here is a recap of all that we know so far of that mega raid that is being carried out by the Central Bureau of Investigation, and then we get you some breaking news on the investigation itself.
At 8:32 a.m., this tweet by Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia whipped up a storm in the national capital. And in the next 8 minutes, Republic scooped the biggest leads way ahead of others. We told you that CBI officials were at Manish Sisodia's residence and a mega CBI crackdown was underway.
In fact, what we can confirm at this point in time is that the searches are not only being carried out at the Deputy Chief Minister's residence. In fact, we are now getting a confirmation from top sources within the agency that the searches are being carried out at 20 locations in the Delhi NCR region. This is pertaining to the excise policy which came under the scanner. This is after the LG had basically ordered a CBI investigation into the matter.
The move came days after Delhi Lieutenant Governor ordered investigation into alleged violation of excise policy. Not only were CBI teams at Sisodia residence, but raids were on at over 21 locations across 7 states and union territories.
An FIR that has been registered by the Central Bureau of Investigation. In fact, what has basically come under the scanner is the very liquor regime that was basically started by the Aam Aadmi Party back in 2021 by basically what the party had claimed that this is an attempt that was being made. The policy was drafted keeping in mind to clean up certain malpractices and improve the experience of individuals while buying the liquor. Now, in its policy document, they had claimed that revenue in Delhi was suboptimal and that there is significant potential for revenue augmentation.
The extent of the crackdown unraveled the depths of the alleged scam. At 9:07 a.m., breaking the swiftest leads, Shravan Sen told you that 4 public servants, including then Excise Commissioner E. Gopalakrishnan, were under CBI scanner.
There is also a waiver fee for those bid who were bidding for the liquor licenses. So why exactly were the fees essentially waived off? That's point number one. Point number two, to probe officials who supported or essentially sided with the government exactly when they were basically changing the excise policy and perhaps turned a blind eye to those very changes that were essentially made. Third is to basically look into the Delhi government's decision which allowed the cartels to operate on a monopoly in the market. Now, these are the three basic areas that I would say that the CBI is concentrating right now as the probe is underway.
And Kejriwal's deputy was an accused in the FIR. 2 hours on and another Kejriwal aide was in the dock, his electronic gadgets and documents being scanned and seized. From loss to exchequer to quid pro quo, charges loom large on yet another Kejriwal aide. But this was not all. Shravan Sen threw light on possible ED action that might soon take place.
Well, in fact, first, let me begin with the latest development with regards to whether at all are we looking at another agency, that's the Enforcement Directorate, that could step in. I'm given to understand no case has been registered as yet, but what we are being told is that perhaps after the searches are basically over, perhaps the Enforcement Directorate would be getting all the documents from the Central Bureau of Investigation. Once that happens, whether at all they're going to look into a money laundering case, we'll have to wait and watch, because there is a high possibility following the examination of the documents, the ED could also step in. But we'll have to wait for that to happen, because all of that perhaps after the searches are over.
Residences and offices raided, documents and gadgets seized, several aides under scanner, and likely ED action next. Republic keeps you ahead with all the mega leads. Bureau Report for Republic TV.
Getting into the first big breaking news on This Is Exclusive with regards to the seizure that has now been made by the Central Bureau of Investigation. What we can confirm now, viewers, is that crucial documents, rather, if I may say so, confidential documents have now been seized from the residence of one of the public servants. In fact, this is what we know. These are basically confidential official file notings which were not supposed to be at the residence of this public servant. At this point in time, perhaps we cannot put out details of which public servant from whose premises these documents have been seized, but all that we can say is that certain confidential documents pertaining to the excise policy have essentially been seized by the Central Bureau of Investigation. This is apart the electronic devices that have also been seized by the CBI. Let me bring in my colleague Shivangi, who's been reporting from outside the Deputy Chief Minister's residence. In fact, Shivangi, there was also some reports basically coming in that there's some documents that were seized by the Central Bureau of Investigation from a car which belongs to the Deputy Chief Minister. Is there any confirmation? Because as of now, what I have been told by my sources within the agency is that they have recovered certain confidential documents pertaining to the excise policy that is from the residence of one of the public servants. In fact, we are also being told that there are confidential notings, and these notings shouldn't have been at the residence of this public servant, and that's the reason why they have seized. Any details you're picking up from the Deputy Chief Minister's residence, anything that has been seized so far?
Right. Shravan, like you said, just a short while back, and we got those visuals live for our viewers, where we showed you visuals of the vehicle of Manish Sisodia. There was a lot of activity which had taken place, where I'll just show our viewers. This is the residence of Manish Sisodia, and we are showing you the inside shots right now. So just a short while back, we showed you visuals of the car of Manish Sisodia, where there was some activity. Somebody opened the car, and then they took something out. So then we got this big news that some documents have been recovered. So we were one of the first ones to show you those exclusive pictures of that. Now, the raids have been happening for the past 9 to 10 hours now, since morning. That means that it's been almost 10 hours, a very, very long time. Press conferences happening, but when it comes to support for the Aam Aadmi Party, we're not seeing not even one Aam Aadmi Party member or worker here. Earlier there was a big protest. Some of the Aam Aadmi Party workers were detained, but as you can see clearly, and this is something we have been telling our viewers, that there's literally no support here for the Aam Aadmi Party, just media persons. Even if you look around, you will not even see any police presence at this point of time. So raids are continuing, Shravan, right now. Massive allegations made against Manish Sisodia, and we will get you all the updates from here. Still waiting for confirmation that the CBI raids are over yet or not, but of course they're still continuing, and we're keeping a very close eye at the residence of Manish Sisodia. Shravan, over to you.
Well, in fact, trust you to keep us ahead on the story. We'll be closely tracking all the developments that are taking place. Perhaps by the end of the day, we would be getting a better picture of the seizure that has been made by the Central Bureau of Investigation. The other big story that we are tracking right now, pertaining, or rather the angle that we are looking at very closely, is that whether at all there is a possibility of more agencies really stepping in. The indication essentially being that the enforcement directorate may also step in, primarily because we give it to understand that the enforcement directorate has had an unofficial kind of a communication with the Central Bureau of Investigation with regards to the FIR copy. In fact, they've sought for the FIR copy from the Central Bureau of Investigation. But as of now, what we can tell you is that no fresh case that has been registered by the Enforcement Directorate as yet. But after the searches are over, perhaps there is a high possibility that there is a high possibility that they would be looking into this matter. This is only after the searches that would be carried out. Now, there's been a massive political storm that has basically been brewing over this entire matter in the national capital, over this liquor excise policy. Intense face-off between the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Aam Aadmi Party. What is it that the BJP essentially has to say? BJP says that if there was absolutely nothing wrong with this excise policy which was floated back in 2021, then why was it scrapped on 30th of July, the very day when the inquiry actually began? On the other hand, the Aam Aadmi Party has basically hit out at the BJP, saying that this move that was made by the Aam Aadmi Party, the LG was very much taken into consideration. They are talking about the previous LG in the first place, and secondly, saying that no rules were basically flouted. Here is a report on that intense political face-off between BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party.
The trouble for Delhi Excise Minister Manish Sisodia began almost a month back when Delhi LG recommended a CBI investigation into the Delhi excise policy. The LG made his recommendation based on the report of Chief Secretary, which found violations by the policy. Since the recommendation of CBI probe, Delhi government did withdraw the contentious policy, but the controversy very much rages on. A fresh FIR has been registered by the CBI. The FIR names 5 key accused, and Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia is one of the 5 accused under the lens for the liquor policy. According to top sources, rupees 143 crore waiver was given out to liquor lobby, allegedly at the behest of Sisodia. 30 crore rupees were refunded, imported beer withdrawal was done without approval. Extensions were given to select license holders. The unapproved withdrawals allegedly led to huge exchequer loss, and that's not all. Licenses were also allegedly bumped up without approval of the LG. As per the CBI, Sisodia is accused of causing loss to the exchequer due to the liquor policy. There are allegations of awarding contracts to ineligible vendors and a major quid pro quo large looms. Republic is being told by top sources that CBI is combing through crucial documents and has seized electronic gadgets. The truth of the allegations will be out soon. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Accessed details of the In fact, now we have accessed the details of the FIR that has been registered by the Central Bureau of Investigation. This after a preliminary inquiry was carried out by the CBI. What is it that we know so far? In fact, the Chief Secretary of Delhi had prepared a report based on the instructions that had come in from the LG. The Chief Secretary in his report has basically highlighted that there were financial malpractices and certain lobby. The liquor lobby was basically favoured, and that is the reason why the Delhi Police's Economic Offences Wing was already roped in. Recently, The Lieutenant Governor had basically recommended a CBI probe into this matter. Days later, the CBI has now filed an FIR in which they have named 15 people, which also includes the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister along with the then Commissioner. There are 15 others who have already been named. Now, I'm just quoting from the document that has now been accessed. Perhaps in a short while from now, we could also bring in my colleagues to just break it down for all our viewers. What is the FIR really saying? Number one, they're basically talking about who have been named so far. In fact, they say that it includes Manish Sisodia, Arva Gopi Krishna, the then Commissioner Excise Anand Tiwari, the then Deputy Commissioner Excise Pankaj Bhatnagar, Assistant Commissioner, and along with him, they were basically instrumental in recommending and taking decisions pertaining to the excise policy for the year 2021 and 2022 without the taking approval of the competent authority. Now, the competent authority here refers to the LG, and this was with an intention to extend undue favors to the licensees post-tender. In fact, they also go on to say that reliable sources have revealed that Vijay Nair, former CEO of Only Much Louder, an entertainment and event management company, Manoj Rai, ex-employee of Pernod Ricard, Amandeep Dal, owner of Brindaco Spirits, Samir Mahendru, owner of Indo Spirits, are actively involved in the irregularities and framing and implementation of the excise policy. Sources have further revealed that some of the L1 license holders are issuing credit notes to retail vendors with an ambitious intention to divert the funds to undue pecuniary advantage in public servants. Now, I'll just try and break it down as we also get in my colleague Niranjan, who is going to take you through some of the details of the FIR that has been registered. In a nutshell, what are the allegations that they are looking at? One, in terms of the undue favor that was basically given to certain liquor mafia. More importantly, 143 crore rupees. That's the amount that was basically waived off for a certain section of the vendors. Secondly, about 30 crore rupees was, again waived off for those who were basically, who did not receive an NOC from the airport authorities. In fact, that money should have been issued, should have been perhaps taken into consideration as a penalty, but rather it was waived off. Now this, the Central Bureau of Investigation suspects would have been done at the behest of the Deputy Chief Minister, primarily because he's the one who's been looking after the excise department. So what turns out so far is that they're looking at a quid pro quo. They're looking at financial malpractices. They're looking at whether at all there was a section, or whether at all the cartel or the monopoly in the market, they were basically benefiting from this particular excise policy. Let me bring in my colleague Niranjan, who's joining us on this broadcast. Niranjan, just a brief bit, I've already told our viewers with regards to the FIR that has now been accessed by Republic TV. Can you also break it down in terms of the licensing part? The licenses is the very area, or rather the grey area, if I may say so, in this entire case.
Shravan, before I just get on to that, I had a tweet that was pulled up. Okay, I'll go back to that tweet. But the entire FIR is in front of me, and I'm going to go across to some of the key portions that we identified and highlighted about the money trail and the licensing, etc. Now, I'm just going to I'm just going to go across back to the FIR. And on the FIR, I'm just going to go back to that page where they speak about the entire money trail and the licensing. Now, very interestingly, Shravan, some very interesting names that emerge, that pop up on this FIR. One is, of course, Manish Sisodia, Arva Gopi Krishna, then Commissioner Anand Tiwari, then Deputy Commissioner Pankaj Bhatnagar, Assistant Commissioner. Name number 5, very interesting. Vijay Nair, former CEO of OML, Only Much Louder, an entertainment and event management company. What was the connection? Now, on that note, let me go across, to the mention of some of these manufacturers, the liquor manufacturers, right? It mentions here that Vijay Nair, Manoj Rai, basically these are liquor firms of a former employee of Pernod Ricard, Amandeep Dal, owner of Brindaco Spirits, Samir Mahendru, owner of Indo Spirits. So basically they're alleging that they're actively involved in irregularities in framing and implementation of the excise policy. So first of all, they're alleging, the CBI in its FIR has alleged that they are actively, that these people have mentioned people from entertainment industries and people who own or were part of or employees of liquor firms were actively involved in framing and implementing the excise policy. That's point number one. Secondly, they are saying that they were, when you go to one of the mentions here, it says, and it makes a mention, and let me go across once again to that page where we had marked out, this particular part. Let me just go back to that. Here they mention name of Amit Arora, Dinesh Arora. They claim that they are close associates of Manish Pandey, Arjun Pandey, right? They claim that they're all very close associates of Manish Sisodia, and they claim they're actively involved in managing and diverting the undue pecuniary advantage collected from liquor licensees to accused public servants. They're saying there are 3 people who are aides of Manish Sisodia as per the FIR, and they're saying that they're actively involved in managing and diverting the undue pecuniary advantage collected from these liquor licensees to accused public servants. Sources further reveal that Sri Samir Mahendru, MS Indo Spirits, has transferred an amount of 1 crore to Radha Industries maintained with UCO Bank, which is being managed by Dinesh Arora. And they talk about the money trail. They say that a person called Arun Ramchandra Pillai used to collect undue pecuniary advantage from Samir Mahendru for onward transmission to accused public servants through Vijay Nair. So they look at the nexus. Just to break this down on the licensing part, and you mentioned the whole trail. There is the Delhi government and the Deputy Chief Minister. They're alleging the CBI, Manish Sisodia, aides of Manish Sisodia, and bureaucrats. And then there are people from the outside. For example, this Vijay Nair, who's been mentioned several times here. They claim that Vijay Nair, along with the liquor manufacturers and the liquor lobby, collected money, shared it and they helped in the framing of the policy via the bureaucrats. They helped in framing of the policy and the undue advantage. Monies were collected and transferred to bureaucrats. So basically the allegation in a nutshell is of framing a policy that helped the liquor lobby and advantages were drawn from it. Monies were collected as part of the entire exercise, as perhaps kickback or advantage. I don't know how you name it, Shravan, but this is basically what the entire FIR talks about: the undue advantage, the undue pecuniary advantage.
Well, thank you very much, Niranjan, for getting us the latest details of this FIR. In fact, in a short while from now, we'll also going to put out more details. Because remember, the allegation here is also that there wasn't any cabinet approval that was basically taken for tweaking the excise policy, not just getting in touch with the competent authority or getting an approval from the competent authority. It turns out that there was no cabinet approval to begin with, and the sole person who was responsible for this was the Deputy Chief Minister, because he was entrusted with the job of making the necessary changes in the policy to begin with. And secondly, it also turns out that this was essentially being done with the intention to favor a certain section of the liquor lobby. On the other side, the big debate coming up tonight at 9 p.m. with Editor-in-Chief Audub Goswami, the political face-off between the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Aam Aadmi Party as the CBI raids continues.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 private university for the 10th year by India Today, a testimony to Amity's world-class education whilst imbibing values and sanskars in students.
Amid several reactions coming in, BJP leader Manoj Tiwari in an exclusive conversation with the public on CBI raids at Delhi, Deputy CM Manish Sisodia's residence and offices attacked the Aam Aadmi Party, saying that Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia wanted to turn the national capital into a liquor state.
आप ट्वीट खेलते हैं, इट मीन्स कि आपने जो पाप किया है उसको छुपाने के लिए काडंबर बनाते हैं। ये मुद्दा शिक्षा नीति का तो है ही नहीं, ये तो शराब नीति का ऐसा है। और शराब नीति वो आबकारी नीति जिसमें दिल्ली के करोड़ों की लूट हुई है।
electronic gadgets that is going to be scanned right now. It's going to be crucial because what the CBI would be looking at, whether at all there is any evidence to the fact that there were direct communication that was actually going on with the vendors, whether at all there was an indication that actually some of the vendors could have been favored.
आम आदमी पार्टी का भ्रष्टाचार एक बार नहीं कई बार देखने को सामने आया। जिस दिन सीबीआई को जांच दी उसी दिन शराब नीति को वापस लिया। शराब के ठेकों में दिल्ली में भयंकर भ्रष्टाचार हुआ। अरविंद केजरीवाल और मनीष सिसोदिया की सांठगांठ सामने आई।
After Aam Aadmi Party addressed the media as CBI continues to raid Manish Sisodia's residence, Delhi BJP chief Adesh Gupta held a press conference today. Delhi BJP president attacked the Aam Aadmi Party government, saying it has been exposed now. Further, he said Aam Aadmi Party's policy has been benefiting liquor mafia.
के अंदर शराब माफियाओं को भ्रष्टाचार के माध्यम से संरक्षण देने वाली सरकार आज अपनी ईमानदारी की बात कर रही है।
बहुत तंग करेंगे, बहुत अड़चने आएंगी, बहुत तरह की दुविधा पैदा करेंगे। आज मनीष सिसोदिया को दुनिया का सबसे अच्छा शिक्षा मंत्री घोषित किया गया, लेकिन उसके घर सीबीआई पहुंच के रेड मारने के लिए। तो अड़चने बहुत आएंगी।
गलत नहीं है व्यक्ति तो उसका स्वागत करना चाहिए कि हाँ आओ छापा मार लो, हम तो दूध के धुले हुए हैं। लेकिन अगर उसके विरोध में बयानबाजी कर रहे हैं तो शुद्ध रूप से जांच एजेंसी पर दबाव बनाने का असफल प्रयास होगा और निश्चित तौर से दाल में कुछ काला होगा।
ये आम आदमी की सरकार है, ठेकेदारों की सरकार है और ये आज कंप्लीटली एक्सपोज हो चुके हैं। इसलिए इतना पैनिक है, इसलिए इतनी बड़ी बड़ी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंसेज, इसलिए इतने बड़े बड़े ट्वीट कर रहे हैं।
There are 21 places in the Delhi NCR region itself where the searches are being carried out. Plus, we are given to understand 7 states and union territories where the searches are being carried out. This basically includes the vendors who've come under the scanner. Manish Sisodia, who's also looking after the Excise department, his residence as well as his office are already being searched by the Central Bureau of Investigation. Apart from that, there are certain other public servants who are basically being questioned also by the Central Bureau of Investigation.
As CBI
Is there more trouble in store for the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, Manish Sisodia? After the Central Bureau of Investigation, will the Enforcement Directorate now step in? We are given to understand that the Enforcement Directorate has sought a copy of the FIR that has been registered by the Central Bureau of Investigation. If there is a predicate offence and if the agency essentially looks at and finds out that there is a prima facie case that cuts out of money laundering, then perhaps in all likelihood a case would be registered in this liquor policy which is now being examined by the Central Bureau of Investigation. Take a look at this report.
As Central Bureau of Investigation raids the residence of Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia, the Enforcement Directorate has reportedly sought a copy of the FIR filed in the excise policy case. While the ED has not registered a money laundering case yet, sources say the process of registering an information report will begin after the searches are over. Meanwhile, sources say the agency will also probe officials who supported the government in changing the excise policy or those who turned a blind eye when the post facto changes were made. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
That's all that we could pack in this edition of This is Exclusive at 10 p.m. Editor-in-Chief Arnab Goswami debates this liquor policy scam which is now under the scanner of the Central Bureau of Investigation. Will the Aam Aadmi Party really cooperate? Will they respond to the grave allegations that have been levelled against their top minister?
As CBI continues to carry out raids at Deputy Manish Sisodia residence, Deputy CM there, Aam Aadmi Party leader Sanjay Singh addressed the media, attacked the PM, Modi saying that as popularity of Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal is increasing, PM Modi is getting more and more scared. He further stated the Delhi government will not stop education module.
नरेंद्र मोदी जी को रात में नींद नहीं आती। उनको सिर्फ एक ही चिंता लगी रहती है कि कैसे केजरीवाल को रोकना है, कैसे शिक्षा मॉडल को रोकना है, कैसे स्वास्थ्य को मॉडल को रोकना है।
Amid several reactions coming in, BJP leader Manoj Tiwari in an exclusive conversation with Republic on CBI raids at Delhi, Deputy CM Manish Sisodia's residence and offices attacked the Aam Aadmi Party, saying that Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia wanted to turn the national capital into a liquor state.
आप ट्वीट खेलते हैं, इट मीन्स कि आपने जो पाप किया है उसको छुपाने के लिए काडंबर बनाते हैं। ये मुद्दा शिक्षा नीति का तो है ही नहीं, ये तो शराब नीति का ऐसा है। और शराब नीति वो आबकारी नीति जिसमें दिल्ली के करोड़ों की लूट हुई है।
Electronic gadgets that is going to be scanned right now, it's going to be crucial because what the CBI would be looking at, whether at all there is any evidence to the fact that there were direct communication that was actually going on with the vendors, whether at all there was an indication that actually some of the vendors could have been favored.
आम आदमी पार्टी का भ्रष्टाचार एक बार नहीं कई बार देखने को सामने आया। जिस दिन सीबीआई को जांच दी उसी दिन शराब नीति को वापस लिया। शराब के ठेकों में दिल्ली में भयंकर भ्रष्टाचार हुआ। अरविंद केजरीवाल और मनीष सिसोदिया की सांठगांठ सामने आई।
After Aam Aadmi Party addressed the media as CBI continues to raid Manish Sisodia's residence, Delhi BJP chief Adesh Gupta held a press conference today. Delhi BJP president attacked the Aam Aadmi Party government, saying it has been exposed now. Further, he said Aam Aadmi Party's policy has been benefiting liquor mafia.
के अंदर शराब माफियाओं को भ्रष्टाचार के माध्यम से संरक्षण देने वाली सरकार आज अपनी ईमानदारी की बात कर रही है।
बहुत तंग करेंगे, बहुत अड़चने आएंगी, बहुत तरह की दुविधा पैदा करेंगे। आज मनीष सिसोदिया को दुनिया का सबसे अच्छा शिक्षा मंत्री घोषित किया गया, लेकिन उसके घर सीबीआई पहुंच के रेड मारने के लिए। तो अड़चने बहुत आएंगी।
Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia raided by the CBI in the Delhi excise policy tweak matter. Republic accesses CBI FIR in the excise policy probe. Sisodia named as accused number 1. But Kejriwal rushes to defend his deputy, says CBI has been given instructions from the top. After big CBI crackdown on Delhi Deputy Chief Minister, ED also likely to take action on the Delhi excise policy matter. Big AAP BJP face-off over New York Times article as AAP flaunts front page coverage, BJP calls article planted. Protests, detentions and chaos in the national capital as the CBI conducts massive raids over excise policy. Good evening and welcome to 6:30 p.m. live and breaking as we build the prime time up. The CBI has been carrying out a raid at the home of Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia since morning. In fact, not just his residence, but 20 other locations in connection with the Delhi excise policy, escalating tensions between the government and the Aam Aadmi Party, which alleged the agency was acting on orders from above. Republic has accessed the CBI FIR